All right, welcome back to ABA exam review and the continuation of our BCBA practice question series, where we're continuing with another set of questions and breaking them down. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're turning, welcome back. Please like and subscribe. Check out behavioranalyst.study.com for all of our study materials, including our combo pack. When you pass your exam, let us know so we can include you in the Sunday shout out. Work hard, study hard. Let's get going. The token economy intervention for 8 students with different behavioral profiles is developed. The intervention shows significant improvements in on-task behavior. However, during the intervention period, a teacher's aide returned from medical leave, 2 new students with strong academic skills joined the class, and the school implemented a new school-wide positive behavior program. The behavior analyst wants to publish results but is concerned about the study's validity. What statement best describes validity concerns? So it's a long question, and it's a question about validity, but it's not necessarily difficult because we're given a lot of information that's pointing us towards the right direction for the right answer. We have token economy for 8 students with different behavioral profiles, and the intervention shows improvements in on-task behavior. So it appears like it's working for all of these students despite the different behavior profiles. Now, during the intervention, a teacher's aide came back, 2 new students joined the class with strong academic skills, and a new school-wide positive behavior program was introduced. So immediately, if you're thinking about internal validity versus external validity, what's jumping out at you here? For me, the main problem is how can we prove our intervention led to the change when all these other things are taking place? Maybe it was the school-wide system. Maybe it was a teacher's aide. Maybe these 2 new students are messing up the data. There's a lot of things going on that we're not controlling that might have an effect on the validity. So what statement best describes concerns? A, internal validity is compromised by multiple history threats, making it difficult to attribute changes to the token economy. Exactly what we predicted. A lot of history is happening here, a lot of changes that we aren't controlling, where it's lessening the proof that our intervention, the token economy, is actually making that change. Let's read B. External validity is limited because results may not generalize to other classrooms. It may not, but we're not focused on that. There's no information about other classrooms. As far as we know, it's working for all these different students. The internal validity is off. We can't quite prove that, but generalization to other classrooms doesn't yet seem like an issue. C, both internal and external validity are strong because the intervention was implemented in an authentic educational setting with multiple students. That's true. And external validity might be stronger than internal validity because of the difference in students, and it's in an authentic setting, but the internal validity is still struggling. D, internal and external validity are weak due to maturation threats from students naturally improving over time. Maturation is always going to be an issue. That's not necessarily an external issue. That's more of an internal issue. And that's not what we're dealing with here. We're dealing more with history threats. The issue here is these history threats are making it difficult to attribute changes to our token economy. During a supervision meeting, a supervisee presents a case where they implemented a reinforcement procedure that was ineffective. The supervisor notices that the supervisee seems defensive when asked about procedural fidelity. The supervisor wants to address this productively while maintaining a positive supervisory relationship. Which approach demonstrates best practice and interpersonal skills? Believe it or not, this is going to be a very important thing for you as a BCBA to know and for you to know for your exam. The major part of your job as a BCBA is coaching and teaching and supervising. So if you have a situation with a supervisor where they are implementing something that is ineffective and it's noticed that they're defensive, the supervisor is getting defensive about their fidelity, you want to do your best to maintain a good relationship with your supervisees. We work as a team, we're collaborative, and therefore they don't necessarily have to like you, but they've got to respect you and they've got to be comfortable coming to you with problems. So in this case, how can we best address this situation? A, directly tell the supervisee they're being defensive and explain that supervision requires openness to feedback. Well, you want to be careful about if they're already defensive and you tell them that and then you start explaining to them they need to be open to your feedback, it's not necessarily going to be the greatest way to get through to them in a lot of cases. So A is okay. Can we do better? B, avoid discussing the defensiveness or the issues to preserve the relationship. Focus only on the technical aspects of the intervention. Is this too far in the other direction? Yes, you want to be a good team, but you're still in charge. You're still the boss. You need to address these things when they come up for the client's sake. C, attempt to understand the supervisor's perspective, collaboratively explore what might have affected implementation, and frame fidelity assessment as a learning opportunity rather than criticism. Yeah, that's clearly better than A, right? Understand where they're coming from, why they're defensive, collaborate with them to figure out what could be wrong, and let them know you're not criticizing, you're trying to teach. D, ask the supervisor to self-evaluate their performance and provide corrective feedback if they identify the same concerns. You've already identified the concerns. It's your job as a supervisor to now address them with the supervisor. Understand their perspective, collaborate, and then try to teach them rather than criticize immediately. The client engages in high-rate stereotypy that has been determined to be automatically reinforced. The team decides to implement a fixed-time 30-second schedule where preferred items are delivered every 30 seconds regardless of behavior. After 1 week, stereotypy decreases by 40%. After 2 weeks, the behavior increases back to baseline levels. What is the most likely explanation, and what should be the next step? So, two-part question, the most likely explanation and what we should do next. Well, what do we know so far? We know we have a high rate of stereotypy. It's automatically reinforced. We're implementing a fixed time schedule where items are given 30 seconds regardless of behavior. So what do we know about this? One, we know it's non-contingent, meaning reinforcements delivered no matter what. And with a fixed time schedule, we're typically trying to compete with the existing reinforcement through motivating operations. Now, it's effective at first, right? Because we're giving them this non-contingent reinforcement. Stereotypy is going down. So it seems like maybe we're affecting the motivating operation for stereotypy, but then the behavior increases back to baseline levels after 2 weeks. How can we explain this? What should we do next? A, the fixed time schedule created a reinforcement of stereotypy, switch to a differential reinforcement procedure. Well, the fixed time schedule doesn't follow stereotypy, it comes before, right? It's non-contingent. B, the fixed time schedule initially competed with automatic reinforcement, but the client habituated to the delivered stimuli. Assess whether different or more varied reinforcers would be more effective, and consider schedule thinning. Okay, possibly, right? It's possible that the client has now habituated to the delivered stimuli, so it's not having the same effect. And maybe we thin the schedule so that habituation goes, or we use different reinforcers. B looks okay. C, the behavior is not actually automatically reinforced. Conduct a functional analysis. The question tells us it's been determined, so we're not going to change that when it's already been told that this is automatic reinforcement. D, the fixed time schedule is too lean. Implement a fixed time 10-second schedule to provide denser contingent reinforcement. Well, the fixed time 30 was already working. Why would you go to a thicker schedule when you already had that thinner schedule? So it doesn't appear the problem is too lean. It's much more likely the student has adapted, or the learner has adapted to the schedule, and we need to change either the reinforcement or thin out the schedule more. A child with autism receives ABA therapy in a clinic setting. Initially, the therapist's firm no has little effect on problem behavior. Over time, after no is consistently paired with the loss of access to reinforcers, the child's behavior decreases when the therapist says no. Eventually, no from parents, teachers, and other adults also suppresses behavior, even though these individuals use different tones and inflections. What progression has occurred? So what progression has occurred? And we're focused on this no, right? Initially, no has little effect on problem behavior. So no would be what? A neutral stimulus. Over time, no is paired with loss of access to reinforcers. So neutral stimulus plus conditioned stimulus. Now, eventually, no from parents, teachers, and other adults also suppress behavior. In addition, no leads to a decrease in behavior. So we've created what? We've created this conditioned stimulus, and now it's generalized because all these parents, teachers, and adults with different tones and inflections are also able to use no. So what progression has occurred? A, no progress from a neutral stimulus to an unconditioned punisher. We're not taking it neutral to unconditioned because we are conditioning it here. B, no is always an unconditioned punisher, but required repeated exposure to demonstrate its effects. No is not unconditioned. Again, we are conditioning no. No became a discriminative stimulus or punishment rather than a punisher itself. Except no is the consequence, so it's not going to be the SD. That leaves us with D. No progressed from a neutral stimulus to a conditioned punisher to a generalized conditioned punisher. That is the natural flow. Neutral, conditioned, generalized, conditioned. Our answer here is D. You're developing a behavior intervention plan for a client who hits others to gain access to preferred toys. The team is selecting an appropriate replacement behavior to teach. Which of the following would be the most appropriate functional communication response to teach? Let's finish with a pretty simple one. We're trying to teach a functional communication response. We have a behavior plan. The client hits to gain access. We're looking for a replacement. Now, when we replace a behavior, what type of behavior are we looking for? We're looking for something that's functionally equivalent, meaning the behavior is going to meet the same purpose or function as the old behavior. So if the old behavior was used to get access, we want our new behavior to get access. So, which of the following is most appropriate in this case? A, teaching the client to say, I'm angry when they want a toy. Is I'm angry a functional way to get what you want? Not in a socially valid environment. B, teaching the client to wait quietly until someone offers them a toy. Is waiting quietly communicating functionally? Not necessarily. C, teaching the client to ask, can I have a toy please, or use a picture exchange? Okay, that would meet both requirements, be functionally equivalent and a functional communication response. D, teaching the client to play with different toys they already have access to. Well, that teaches them to go to other toys, but does not teach them to get what they need or what they want. So C is the best answer. Teach the client to ask, can I have the toy please, or use a picture exchange. Thanks for watching. Check out behavioranalyststudy.com for all of our study materials. When you pass your exam, let us know so we can include you in the Sunday shout-out. Work hard, study hard. See you soon.